Hey, what's up guys, Anboni here, and today I wanted to make this video to share with you a couple of tips and tricks you can do as a Shadow Priest to increase your overall performance in PvP. And by performance I mean damage, because #Legion. Now, as you might know, Shadow is a spec that can deal a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. Now, in order to pull off these insane numbers in Arena, there's a nice trick you can use with Twist of Fate. And Twist of Fate was designed to be like an execute kind of thing, so whenever you hit someone below 35% HP, for the next 10 seconds you deal 20% increased damage to everyone, which is actually insane. It's pretty much almost like a berserker buff, and if you do certain things, you can actually keep Twist of Fate up for longer than intended. Not as a bug, but just, you know, I don't know, clever usage of game mechanics, I guess. So the first thing I want to talk about is Totems. Totems do actually proc Twist of Fate as long as you don't one-shot them. And the way you can actually kill Totems and be like without one-shotting them as a Shadow Priest is by using Shadow Word Pain. It's pretty basic. Whenever you see a totem, just Shadow Word Pain it twice. And it's gonna be, you know, really low on HP unless you're in Void form. If you're in Void form, then 2 Shadow Word Pains are going to actually kill the totem. But if you're not, then you can Shadow Word Pain twice and then actually Shadow Word Death the totem, which is another trick, and that's gonna give you 30 insanity because you kill the totem with Shadow Word Death, and it's also gonna proc Twist of Fate, so you're gonna do 20% more damage for 10 seconds. So, you know, totems are pretty common when you're fighting a shaman. And if you want to min-max this, if you want to be like super hardcore about maximizing your Twist of Fate uptime by using this, the best way you can do it is Shadow Word Pain twice, and then sometimes it really depends on how much damage you do with Shadow Word Pain, because, you know, damage is not exactly always the same. Sometimes you can even crit with 1 Shadow Word Pain tick, I mean the first initial damage, and it's actually gonna kill the totem, which sucks. But if you don't crit and if you do low damage with the first 2 Shadow Word Pains, you can, I'm thinking actually of doing this, I haven't thought about this yet. What if you actually unequip your weapon? Some next level stuff. Alright, listen to me. You unequip your weapon, you press Shadow Word Pain twice. It's definitely not gonna kill the totem unless you're actually critting with both of them, which would be pretty, you know, it's kind of uncommon. And then you leave the totem at, it's gonna stay at around 30% HP. Then you equip your weapon back, because I'm not sure, I think equipping your weapon does cost a global though, so it might actually be a terrible idea. But even if you keep your weapon on, sometimes you can Shadow Word Pain twice, and they're gonna be at around 30% HP. And finally we're getting to the point of what I'm trying to say. If you want to min-max this and be super hardcore, you can actually go in range and stab the totem, attack it with your melee weapon, and you're not gonna kill it, you're not gonna do that much damage. And I think you can get like 3 or 4 attacks in before it actually dies. Now, for some totems, like for Earthbind Totem, you know what, like the Root Totem, or the other one, they have like 2 root totems, I'm not sure what they're called, but those totems last for 20 seconds. So Twist of Fate is 10 seconds, so it's not actually worth doing that. You can do it twice maybe, you can attack it once with your weapon, and then you can stay next to it, you're still gonna be slowed, and then 10 seconds later you stab it again, and then right before it expires you can stab it again if you really want to min-max this. But usually I don't go that hardcore against these totems, I just Shadow Word Pain them 2 times and then Shadow Word Death. But if you play, finally we're getting there, if you play against an elemental with Call of, I think it's called Call of the Elements, I might be wrong, the thing that summons 4 totems, those totems last forever, so you can definitely, you know, Shadow Word Pain, and then keep stabbing those totems for pretty much 100% uptime on your Twist of Fate. I mean, you decide for yourself if it's worth it depending on the situation, but when it comes to just damage, yeah, it's sick damage. So there you have it. Now, another thing you can do to keep Twist of Fate up has to do with pets. And I'm not just talking about like regular hunter pets. I mean, of course you can do that as well. You can keep dots on everything you want. But I'm just gonna give you some nice tips here. If you play against a DK, for instance, a DK that plays with the second pet, the archer skeleton guy, then that means that the DK has no cooldown on his summon pet. So killing his main pet is actually kind of pointless. But what you can do is you can attack the skeleton pet. The skeleton pet actually doesn't have a lot of HP, and the DK can't see the skeleton's pet's HP. So as long as he sees that his main pet is full HP, he's most likely not gonna summon a new pet. So you can attack the skeleton thing, but you don't want to dot him. Here's the trick, okay? The skeleton has quite low HP, pretty low-ish. What I would recommend, what I do, is I put the skeleton on focus and I mind blast it a couple of times until it gets pretty low on HP. And then I just, every time my Twist of Fate drops, I just right click it. I just attack it, I stab it with my dagger, and I get Twist of Fate for 10 seconds. And you can actually keep Twist of Fate up the entire game like that, which is insane. It's crazy damage. Ding, that's it, there you go. And you can also do this with Hati, with the hunter pet, the BM hunter pet Hati. The thing with Hati is, I'm not exactly sure how this works. Maybe you guys can enlighten me on that. But I know Hati actually heals. I'm not sure if he heals when the hunter heals his main pet. I think that's how it works. I think when the hunter heals his main pet, Hati also gets healed. So it doesn't work as well. But DKs, they can't heal their skeleton pet. They can just resummon it, and it's gonna bring it back to full HP. But again, if his main pet is full HP, they're not gonna notice. That's the thing. Unless you kill the skeleton. If you kill the skeleton, he might notice and go, oi, where's my skeleton? Now, moving on from Twist of Fate, there are two more things actually that I wanna discuss and tell you guys about. And that is, interaction with immune objects. Immune objects dots. That sounds so weird. So basically, you can... Okay, let's just get straight into it, okay? When you mind flay a totem, or when you mind flay a statue, or someone that's in a cyclone, or basically when you mind flay something that's immune to mind flay, you are, it's gonna say immune, but you're still gonna generate insanity as if you would cast mind flay, as long as you don't cast anything else. Alright, does that make sense? So, you see a totem, you target it, you press mind flay, nothing happens, it says immune, and then you start walking around, and then your insanity, starts increasing as if you were casting mind flay, as if you're casting a full mind flay, which is what, 4 ticks times 4, I think 16 insanity, something like that, maybe less. I don't know, I have no idea how spells work, but that's it. I didn't know that. That's pretty nice. So whenever you're chasing someone around, or I don't know, kiting or not doing anything, and you have a monk statue or a totem there, just mind flay it. It's free insanity. The thing is, if you mind flay something like that, so let's say you mind flay a totem, and then you start casting mind blast straight away, then the game's gonna consider that you stopped casting the mind flay and you're casting something else now, so you're not gonna get it. Okay, does that make sense? So there you go. And one more thing, and this is a lot of people know this, but I thought I might throw this in there because I've been doing it recently every once in a while, and I think it's actually good. I'm not exactly sure though. So it's pretty much the same thing with when you mind flay a totem, but it's void torrenting a totem, or void torrenting something that's immune. And what that does is, you stop casting obviously because it says immune, so you don't cast the void torrent, but you still get the 4-second buff that says you're not draining insanity. You do lose the damage of void torrent, which is kind of stupid. But if you're fighting something that, I don't know, if you're fighting Turbo for instance, you're not going to be able to cast a Void Torrent anyway, unless you have some sort of CC on them. And if you don't have that, a lot of times it actually might be worth Void Torrenting a totem just to stay in Void form for 4 extra seconds. And even more than that, because, in 4 seconds you can build up more insanity. You can go back to 100 insanity, and then you stay in Void form even longer. There you go, that's it. That's all I got. So to recap, you can Void Torrent totems to not drain insanity for 4 seconds, and then you can actually cast other things because the buff for Void Torrent stays. It's not like Mind Flay. With Mind Flay, you can Mind Flay totems, and I keep saying totems, but it works for anything that's immune. So, warriors with Spell Reflect, rogues with Cloak, targets in Cyclone, anything that's immune. You can Mind Flay that, and you get the insanity anyway. And the most important one is, obviously, Twist of Fate. Keeping Twist of Fate up, especially when you burst. So if you can kill a totem with double Shadow Word Pain and then Shadow Word Death, gives you 30 insanity, you go in Void form, you do 20% more damage for 10 seconds, and you have Void form. so much damage. It's so nice. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya!